For years, Daniel Kinahan was presented as the untouchable figure at the top of Irish organised crime. He had survived gangland war, outlasted police operations across multiple countries, embedded himself in boxing at the highest level.
I'm just after getting off the phone with Daniel Kinahan. He's just informed me that the biggest fight in British boxing history has just been agreed. Get up there, my boy!
And built a life in Dubai that seemed far removed from the violence and money laundering cases that had followed the Kinahan name for decades. It looked as though he had escaped the reach of the Irish state altogether. On the 15th of April 2026, Dubai police acted on an Irish arrest warrant and arrested Kinahan in the UAE. Public confirmation followed 2 days later, when the Gardaí announced that an Irish national in his late 40s had been detained relating to alleged serious organised crime offences. He was not named publicly in that initial statement, but the implication was clear. If that account proves to be the moment when Daniel Kinahan finally fell, then it marks the most significant development in the Kinahan story since the Regency Hotel attack in 2016. To understand why an arrest in Dubai matters so much, you have to go back and look at how Daniel Kinahan became one of the most notorious Irish criminals of his generation, how the organisation around him grew, and how years of violence, pressure, and international cooperation appear to have brought that run to an end. The Garda National Drugs and Organised Crime Bureau had spent more than 2 years preparing a file on Kinahan. An Irish arrest warrant was then issued and sent to the authorities in the United Arab Emirates. From there, the process appears to have moved quickly. Dubai prosecutors reviewed the Irish material, authorized the local legal procedures required to act on it, and specialized police units carried out surveillance and search operations to locate him. He was found and arrested within 48 hours. Daniel Kinahan had been living in Dubai openly for years. He was not hiding in the traditional sense. He had become associated with business activity there, with the sport of boxing, and with a lifestyle that gave the impression that he had found a place where the pressure from Europe no longer applied to him in the same way. For a long time, that perception suited the myth that had built around him. The idea that Dubai was the safe final destination for men like Kinahan, a place where they could live beyond the reach of the countries they would be hunted in. Daniel Kinahan did not emerge from nowhere. He came out of a family that had already been deeply involved in serious crime for years. His father, Christopher Christie Kinahan Sr., had built the organization's foundations over decades. His criminal record reportedly stretched back to the late 1970s and included offenses such as burglary, theft, drug trafficking, and money laundering. Over time, Christie Sr. developed a reputation for being far more disciplined and strategic than many of the men around him. He was building systems, contacts, and routes that would eventually allow the Kinahan network to operate internationally. His Dublin-based criminal enterprise expanded during the years of the Celtic Tiger and then outward into continental Europe, particularly Spain. On the Costa del Sol, the Kinahans were able to move closer to the supply chains and laundering routes that made large-scale trafficking possible. The structure of the organization became one of the reasons it proved so difficult to dismantle. It was designed in cells, with layers of separation between different functions. Some people moved drugs, some moved money, some handled violence and enforcement. Others had limited information and knew only enough to perform a specific role. That made infiltration harder and insulated the leadership from day-to-day exposure. Into the 2000s, Daniel Kinahan had become the most visible face of that world. He was widely seen as the operational figure, taking on more of the day-to-day running of the organization, while his father remained the senior architect behind it. Estimates of the group's wealth ran into hundreds of millions, and in some accounts, as high as €1 billion. But Daniel Kinahan did something that would change the public shape of the organization. He became involved in boxing promotion and management. He was linked to major fighters, He was photographed at events with well-known names from the sport. He appeared to be trying to repackage himself as an international businessman and sports figure, rather than the son of a gangland boss. That ambition may have brought status and access, but it also brought visibility. And visibility is dangerous when law enforcement agencies across Europe and the United States already believe you are central to one of the continent's most important organized crime groups. If there is one event that changed the course of the Kinahan story more than any other, it was the Regency Hotel attack in Dublin on the 5th of February 2016. That morning, a boxing weigh-in connected to Daniel Kinahan's promotion company was being held at the Regency Hotel in Whitehall. Armed men entered the building disguised in part as Garda officers. Two were also dressed in women's clothing and wigs in an effort to confuse witnesses and gain access. Their target, according to the authorities, was Daniel Kinahan. He survived. David Byrne, one of his close associates, did not. Byrne was shot dead inside the hotel, and the attack became one of the most notorious gangland incidents in modern Irish history. It was part of a much larger feud between the Kinahan organisation and the Hutch organisation, a feud that had already been building following the murder of Gary Hutch in Spain months earlier. Gary Hutch had once been close to Daniel Kinahan. Reports over the years described them as friends who had spent significant time together in Spain before relations broke down. After Gary Hutch was killed, the Regency attack became the Hutch side's most public and audacious strike. From that point forward, the violence intensified. Over the following years, numerous people were killed in connection with the Kinahan-Hutch feud. The conflict drew vast Garda resources, brought increased media attention, and triggered a level of international scrutiny that the Kinahan organisation had not faced before. The arrest in Dubai, if it leads to prosecution, would not be the result of one breakthrough alone. There had already been major law enforcement action against the Kinahan network years earlier, including Operation Shovel in Spain, which targeted significant parts of the organization's operations on the Costa del Sol. The Kinahans adapted, as major organized crime groups often do. Key figures moved, structures changed. Dubai became the next major base. But the international environment around organized crime was also changing. Encrypted communications platforms such as EncroChat and later Ghost had become central tools for major criminal networks who believed they offered secure ways to communicate about drug shipments, money movements, firearms, and murder plots. When those systems were compromised by law enforcement, the consequences rippled across Europe. Figures linked to the Kinahan organization were arrested and prosecuted in the UK, Ireland, and elsewhere. Thomas "Bomber" Kavanagh, regarded as a major UK figure connected to the cartel, was convicted. Liam Byrne was extradited and pleaded guilty. Mid-level and senior operatives came under growing pressure as communications evidence and international cooperation improved. In April 2022, the United States announced sanctions against key figures linked to the Kinahan organization. Rewards of up to $5 million were offered for information leading to the arrest or conviction of the three Kinahan family members. Those sanctions were significant. They disrupted access to financial systems, damaged business relationships, and made it far harder for Daniel Kinahan to maintain any public role in international business without intense scrutiny. Further pressure reportedly came through Operation Kraken in 2024, after the takedown of the Ghost platform. That handed investigators access to a vast amount of communications data that helped map criminal activity, expose logistics, and strengthen cases already being built. And then there was the legal development that may have mattered most in the end: the extradition treaty between Ireland and the United Arab Emirates, signed in October 2024. For years, the absence of such a route had shaped the assumptions many criminals made about Dubai. It did not mean immediate arrests or automatic returns, but it did mean that the biggest barrier between Irish warrants and UAE detention had been lowered. For Daniel Kinahan and those around him, that should have been a warning that the ground was moving. Sean McGovern has long been described as one of Daniel Kinahan's closest associates and a senior operative whose name recurred in serious organized crime investigations. In October 2024, he was arrested in Dubai. Then, in 2025, he became the first person extradited from the UAE to Ireland under the new treaty. That was a landmark development in itself. McGovern later appeared before the Special Criminal Court and pleaded guilty to 2 offenses of directing the activities of a criminal organization, one linked to the murder of Noel Kerwin and another linked to the surveillance of James Gately in preparation for an attempted murder. If Daniel Kinahan is returned to Ireland, the most important immediate question will be what exactly he is charged with and how prosecutors frame the case against him. Under Irish law, directing a criminal organization can carry a sentence up to life imprisonment. Beyond that, the possibility of conspiracy-related charges, drug trafficking offenses, money laundering offenses, and firearms-related offenses. Whether all of those are ultimately brought, and in what form, would depend on the final prosecution strategy and the evidence available. What is clear is that any such case would likely be heard in the Special Criminal Court, not before a jury. That is standard for some of the most serious organized crime cases in Ireland, particularly where witness intimidation or risks to the administration of justice are considered serious enough to justify a non-jury trial. And if it reaches that point, this would be one of the most closely watched criminal cases in the history of organized crime. Even if the arrest is the real turning point, it does not mean that Daniel Kinahan would immediately be placed on a plane to Dublin. Extradition takes time. Legal arguments are made, procedures are followed, challenges can be mounted. Sean McGovern's case gives some indication of how long a UAE to Ireland process can take under the new treaty. It was not instant, and Kinahan would be expected to fight every stage available to him. There is also the wider question of the organization around him. The Kinahan cartel has never depended on one man alone. Christy Kinahan Sr. and Christy Kinahan Jr. remain central names in the broader story. Other associates, financiers, distributors, and enforcers have long made up the structure that allowed the group to function across borders.